Bible Study, Exodus chapter 1. Bible verses. Now these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man and his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, all his brothers, and all that generation. But the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Explanation. The beginning of the book of Exodus repeats what was mentioned at the end of the book of Genesis in chapter 46, namely, the names of the children of Israel who came into the land of Egypt. Their total number was 70 persons, including Jacob, his sons, and grandchildren who came from Canaan, in addition to Joseph and his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. It is noteworthy that their number was small, as they were just a single family. But God blessed them, and they became a great nation. Joseph and his brothers died, and Joseph had represented the authority that protected and provided for his family. However, the truth is that God was the one who used Joseph for that purpose, and despite his death, God blessed the family. They multiplied greatly and became a large nation, reaching around 2 million people, at a time when Egypt's total population was about 8 million. That means they became about a quarter of Egypt's population. Joseph is a symbol of Christ, in that after Joseph's death, the children of Israel increased. Likewise, through Christ's death, salvation was offered to many around the world who believe in him.
Contemplation. Trust in God's blessing for your life, no matter how hard your circumstances are or how much others may mistreat you. God will strengthen you, make you grow, and give you favor and dignity in the eyes of those around you, and make your enemies fear you.
Bible verses. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Look, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply, and it happen, in the event of war, that they also join our enemies and fight against us, and so go up out of the land." Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were in dread of the children of Israel. So the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service in which they made them serve was with rigor.
Explanation. Many years had passed since Joseph's death, during which the Egyptians forgot, or chose to forget, his services to their nation. This was partly due to their resentment toward the Hyksos, who had ruled Egypt during Joseph's time, and also due to human nature, which often fails to show gratitude to those who have served faithfully for a long time. A new king arose, one who had no regard for Joseph and therefore had no concern for honoring his people, the children of Israel. Deal shrewdly with them means let us oppress them cunningly. They might go up out of the land refers to the Israelites possibly leaving Egypt and returning to Canaan, which would cause Egypt to lose a large labor force. When the king noticed the explosive growth of the Israelites, he and his advisors devised a plan to limit their growth and weaken them out of fear of 2 things. Their increasing numbers could turn them into a threat. If enemies from the east attacked Egypt, the Israelites might ally with them, fight against Egypt, and take over the land. Their continued growth could make them uncontrollable, and if they left for Canaan, Egypt would lose their skilled labor. Pithom and Ramses were 2 cities near Tanis, also called Zoan, Egypt's capital at the time, now located in modern-day Sharqiya Governorate. Taskmasters were Egyptian overseers appointed to force the Israelites into hard labor. The first strategy to weaken the Israelites was to exhaust them by making them build cities for the storage of grain, weapons, and supplies near the capital. They were forced to work without pay, receiving only enough food to survive, sometimes barely enough, hoping that some would die from exhaustion. They were in dread means the Egyptians feared the Israelites. Despite the harsh treatment, God gave the Israelites strength and endurance, and they continued to multiply and grow stronger. The very attempt to suppress them resulted in their increase.
Contemplation. God is mightier than all who oppose you. Even though he allows enemies to show their full hatred, yet amid oppression, he blesses and strengthens you, filling your heart with peace, and even your enemies will fear you.
Explanation. Because the Egyptians were afraid of the children of Israel, they increased their cruelty toward them and exploited them in exhausting labor, mainly building cities and agricultural labor.
Bible verses. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew women, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared God, and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, "Why have you done this thing, and saved the male children alive?" And the midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them." Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. And so it was, because the midwives feared God, that he provided households for them. So Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "Every son who is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive."
Explanation. The Hebrews refers to the descendants of Eber, who was one of Abraham's ancestors. Genesis 11:15. Abraham, the ancestor of the Israelites, also crossed the Euphrates River to Canaan. Abraham earned the name Ivory, or one that has traversed, to be referring to the fact that he came from the other side of the river. So his descendants are called Hebrews. The number of Hebrew women giving birth was estimated to be in the tens or even hundreds of thousands. Some of them gave birth without any assistance, while others needed the help of a midwife. There were two well-known midwives who were considered the chief midwives, overseeing the delivery of Hebrew women. Pharaoh summoned these two to him. Birth stools. In ancient times, women gave birth while sitting on special chairs designed to aid the birthing process. The king ordered the two midwives, along with all the other midwives under them, that when they helped the Hebrew women give birth, if the child was a boy, they were to kill him. But if it was a girl, they were to let her live. In this way, the number of Israelite men would gradually decrease, weakening their strength over time. Even though the order came from the king, and they knew he sent spies to ensure his orders were carried out, the two midwives feared God more than they feared people. Because of their close ties to the Israelites, they had learned to fear God and did not kill any male newborns.
Contemplation. If you face great pressure and temptations to break God's commandments, remember that he is the most important person in your life. Do not anger him, and trust that when you fear him, he will remove any fear of people from your heart, bless you, and protect you.
Explanation. The king became very angry when he learned from his spies that the newborn male children were not being killed. He summoned the midwives and rebuked them for what had happened, and he likely intended to kill them. The midwives answered the king and gave him a logical reason for the survival of newborn Hebrew boys, that the Hebrew women were strong and gave birth before the midwife arrived. This was true in many cases, but not in all, so it was considered a partial lie. Provided households for them means that God gave them houses full of blessings, and if they had not been married, he granted them marriage and happy homes. Even though the midwives had partially lied, God forgave them and blessed them because they feared him, and he blessed their households. At the same time, the Israelite people continued to multiply and grow. The king's attempt to kill the male newborns through the midwives failed. Perhaps he was suspicious of their excuse, but had no proof. He resorted to another cruel plan to weaken the Israelites. He ordered that every newborn male child be thrown into the Nile River. This served two purposes: to gradually reduce the number of Israelite men, weakening the people; to please the Nile, which they worshipped as a god, by offering human sacrifices to it. But God, who is all-powerful, was able to preserve his people. He ensured that Moses, the child he wanted to live, was saved from the water and raised in Pharaoh's own household, so that he could later lead his people out by God's power despite the king's opposition. Note, the word Nile in ancient times referred to the Nile River and all its branches spreading throughout Egypt.
Thank you for watching to the end. If you have enjoyed this work, please like and share with others to spread the word of God. Please also subscribe and hit all under the bell button so you can be notified of all new work